Radio check. One.
Check.
All right. I think, did we kick out Q? Did we lose him?
Yep.
Yep. Boy, this is getting in. Yeah, we're slowly getting this figured out. We are slow. We are at the point of I'm either kicking Q out, Q's either kicking me out, and then Q can't admit people. I can admit people because I'm technically the administrator. Yeah. So we're sorry, everybody. But we're close. We got new website, we got new name, we got domains, we got lots of stuff. So, but we're still tackling the occasional technical snafu, which is Q and I work on this once every other week for like an hour. So for the amount of effort we're putting in, we're making some pretty good progress. So hello, everybody. Hopefully we get a few more. So Tom, you're on twice. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Mary. Good to see you guys as always. So I still don't quite know why we have to admit people. That's still a mystery. Haven't figured that one out. And now Q. Yep, and Q's having computer problems. So yeah, let's give it another couple minutes and then has everybody seen, put it in the chat here. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress, but I'm going to put it in the chat. Has everybody seen the new website that we got? I'm trying to put it in the chat. Where's the chat? I don't want that. So if you go to DetroitInventorsGroup.com, we have a new website, a new domain. Q's been adding a whole bunch of stuff. Still pretty basic right now, but we're trying to break it into segments of what is, like what do people need? Everybody breaks, everybody's in different phases. I break into dream it, make it, sell it. That's, sort of how I run my business, and I don't overcomplicate anything, and I try to keep it as absolutely simple as possible. So, you're either in the dream phase where you haven't really built or tested anything. You're sort of doing market cases. You're sort of looking at, whether or not the idea, vetting the idea a little bit. And then there's the make it phase where you're trying to connect the prototype to your actual performance, and there's a lot of, that's where most people get lost because dreaming is easy, executing is very difficult. And then there's the sell it phase, which I personally think is the absolute hardest that everybody sort of trivializes at the end. And it's a summation of how well you did on the first two. So, so we're going to be looking at sort of creating ways to make it easier for people to connect with that sort of basic strategy of, where am I at globally? And then also connecting just more local inventors. So, the about us is still pretty basic. The team's still pretty basic, but what we're going to have is like services. So if you need a prototype, it'll be like prototyping. You'll see like my business, or you'll see, some of the other businesses in the area, or you'll see maybe Centropolis or something along those lines. So, or maybe some of the accelerators if you're looking for accounting, or you're looking for just general advice. So anyways, pretty exciting. And I do apologize. I accidentally put everybody in the, I was supposed to blind carbon copy the email yesterday because that's the last email I was sending from my personal business account. And I accidentally put it in carbon regular. So when people were replying, we got I blew up everybody's inbox. So that was my bad. I apologize, everybody. I was already worked 13 hours that day. So I was just a little tired. Derek, how are you?
I'm great, Kevin. How are you?
Doing good. We're going to probably get started here in about 2 minutes. I just did a quick website update, a quick Q, are you here? I see Q in spirit.
But yeah, I'm here, but the camera got jammed. I'm trying to start it over. But yeah,
I think the things we should have recorded is Q and I working on this and just going back. I think it was gold. It was absolute gold video. We never recorded it of us trying to figure out how to do basic things. But I have we're Q, and we have an awesome speaker today. and a guy who I've had a wonderful, and I'm not going to do too much intro. I'll let him intro himself. But Tom and I have worked together as engineers way back in the day where I told you guys I work for a billionaire, the guy that owns 5 Hour Energy. Well, Thomas was one of those guys I worked with there. So he's got some great stories, and he was actually there quite a bit for a while after I was there. Highly talented guy at that particular business. You have to have both digital and hands-on skills. So Thomas brings a nice balance between the two. And Thomas has been digging into something that I've been trying to dig into, but I simply haven't had the time to do it. And that's AI, where AI is going, what AI is doing, what you can do, things like AI agents. And he's going to sort of take that back, that inventive background, that creative background, that builder's mindset, and then how is he using AI to do stuff that might be helpful for everybody. So Thomas, if you want to take the floor, I will shut up and take it away.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Hi, everybody. My name's Thomas Reesbeck. Tom's faster, so we'll go with that. I met Q and Derek at a wonderful meeting hosted in Detroit for Apple Manufacturing Academy. And there they talked a lot about AI and using it. And right before that, I worked at a company called Whisker, where everyone kept asking us, how do we use AI? This didn't seem like a hard question for me because you just grab the magic wand and start making things. So I wanted to just dive in and show you guys some examples of how to leverage AI. Assuming you're all inventors and dreamers, you can already think of things you want. So now you have to think of which magic wand you're going to pick up and use. So I put together this website just for this meeting using AI. Each of these pages and case studies took, less than an hour to put together. So I have no programming background. I'm not a website designer. All I did was want a thing, and I learned how to talk to the computer to do it. So the big thing is, how do you use it? Well, I'm going to go back in time and first kind of define why it matters. So we've never had this magic wand of AI. Right now, we can literally tell a machine to make us things. And as long as we're good at telling it what to do, we can make things faster. And right now, we can do it cheaper and faster than ever before in the past. So right now is the golden opportunity to learn this tool, no matter how old you are, how skilled you are. Even like the cheapest computer can generally run one, but I would still advise probably spending the $20 a month on the better model. So I know Kevin and I both invested in getting decent local computers to run some machine modeling. I did want to step back and say I do have my own shop at home. This is my live camera of my own workshop where I have 3D printers, I make circuit boards. I'm still a hardware guy. I still make stuff. This hasn't replaced any of that. I'm just adding to this pile of tools. So within that pile of tools, we have machine learning. Machine learning is kind of where this started maybe 20 plus years ago. I don't know how much math you guys want to get into, but essentially this assigned numbers to values and kept doing that many, many times until the numbers assigned produced something the person liked. And at the Apple Manufacturing Academy, they showed us this wonderful tool called Orange. Everything I'm going to be showing you guys on the screen today are things I've done, tools I have currently loaded on my computer. They're almost all free. So the website in the link is meant to for you guys to go back and look through, because I'm going to go fast. You're not going to catch everything, and that's okay. But I want you guys to understand that all of these tools are available to you. They don't really cost you any money. So this one was a goldfish counter. Sorry for the multiple screens. But essentially, if you sort your goldfish, where's my goldfish images? Oh, it's selecting a folder. View images. Here we go. So I took many images of goldfish on a table. These are the worst possible way to do machine learning, FYI. I just took a bunch of photos of goldfish, and I wanted this machine learning to count how many goldfish were in my bag of goldfish. I spent less than an hour setting this up, taking the photos, labeling it, and Then I ran it through this process where it sorts the data into samples and tests, and then it was able to guess roughly how many goldfish was in my bag. It wasn't perfect, but it was a quick demo of how to use machine learning. And I know this is going to go over all your heads because at the Apple Manufacturing Academy, we spent 2 hours on this. I may have figured it out in maybe a couple minutes, but some people it didn't land. So all I want you to take away from this is these tools are free. And if you ask for help, you can figure them out yourself. So this one is for machine learning. The next one is generative AI. This is probably the one that everyone was aware of, where you can ask a thing to make a picture of a thing. That was the starter of it. Now you can actually turn this into a workflow. And this is another free tool that's going to seem very complicated, but it's not. You just have to play with it. It's called Comfy UI. This is a local generative AI program where you download models and you tell it what you want. So communications majors might become very important in the near future. So for this workflow, I can run it and it will create an image based on a table, and I can have this batch out thousands of images running all day for me. What I was using this for was to generate images for a book I was writing. I was writing a conspiracy theory aliens book, and I wanted to make lots of art to go in said book. Oh, I gotta troubleshoot something. And I was hoping this to run during the presentation. So you can see the blue boxes going. Each of these boxes is being triggered in sequence, connected by these pipes. All of this is set up, and there's tons of tutorials online to do this. And eventually, when my graphics card finishes working on this, all done locally, it'll output an image into a folder. And it generally takes a little less than a minute. It's making it prettier. Now it's making it bigger. And there we go. Let's see if I can show this. So it output that on my own computer. So the reason I want to point this out for inventors, if you own everything in the pipeline and you're off the internet, no one can steal your work. No one can claim credit for it. You own it. It's yours. There are a lot of other creative licenses around the models you use. So you do have to research that. But if I wanted to put this in a book, I own the copyright to this. There's no issue with that. They can do the same thing with online templates. And pretty much I would click on one of these. So let's say Kevin wanted to turn an image of himself into a video. This walks you through how to do that. I'm not going to do this right now because video takes hours to process. We couldn't do that in a live stream. But all of these templates, like this one, image to video, you would put in an image, you describe it, you click the run button, and hopefully your computer's strong enough to run it. So that's the second layer of this. I'll go back to the presentation. The last one that Kevin briefly mentioned was agentic AIs. This is the real magic wand stuff. This is where you essentially have free interns to go make whatever you want, as long as you know how to tell them what you want. So I'm going to give some examples of how I've been using these layers together. With the models, we're not going to go too deep into this, but essentially you have to know what you want and tell whether it's better or worse, was the old method for machine learning. Large language models will not create anything new, but they can take what already exists and reform it to what you're asking. And it's a very simplified equation stating they're not inventing, you're inventing. They are repackaging what you ask for based on all known knowledge that's been trained on. And the reason I want to point that out is if you keep asking it to invent something that's never been invented, it will struggle. But if you describe a picture of a thing, say, I'll give an example in a second, but you have to describe it. These are all the case studies. We'll go through these after, but these are some examples. So my background before working with Kevin, I designed battery-powered submersible pool cleaners. I still want to make a better one, even though I haven't done this in over a decade. So one of my side projects is to make a better one. The AI cannot do that. I've been trying, it can't, it doesn't understand gears or motors. It's not too great at CAD design yet, but it can review test platforms, it can generate images, it can make websites. It is good at what it's good at. So right now, I'll show you the prompt that generated this, but I want to go through some other case studies where you can have it. Let's see. You can have it generate concept art for you in any style. This was made earlier today using a free tool called Gemini through Google. I also used ChatGPT to produce some of these. I would say it's an arms race. You have to keep switching to the best image generator and the cheapest image generator, because 2 years ago, ChatGPT was the best. Right now, it's not the best at image generation, it's not the best at coding, and it's not the best at reasoning. Those are generally the big 3 buckets for agentic AI. But you can type in this scenario into that thing, and it will produce this for you. You can adjust this exact language to be your product, and you can spam out different colors, different images, very easy. You can also have it generate marketing content. You can have it make landing pages. This website that we're on right now collects information to a Google Sheet for me so I can email people later if they want to be contacted. I don't need to pay any fancy services. I think I paid $400 to host 100 websites. So I've already made like 6 or 7, and I'm going to eventually use it to make all 100. The last one is what I actually used it for at Whisker. We were trying to design cat products, cat robots, for a client that we can't speak to. So cats can't tell us what they want. I loaded it with, say, 14 books about cats, and I had it create tests using ISO and ASTM standards to validate these robots. I can't speak specifically about those robots or those tests, but I can tell you this is how I created over 1,000 tests to verify safety of my product. That's something that used to take me months to do, and it probably took me about a week. So the next thing is kind of a list of tools. I don't want to go too specific into each of them, but there's usually reasoning, coding, generations, and CAD. This last one, CAD, not too great. I'll talk about some other tools there. These were the prompts I used to create those images, so you can just go on the website and copy these prompts. This is the one to make better images. You want a positive prompt, what you want, and a negative prompt of what you don't want. That's actually really important for some image generation. You have to remember where they were all trained from. They were all trained to spot road signs, people, bicycles, CAPTCHAs. So a lot of that old architecture is still baked into these LLMs. It loves to show you mirrors and cars, even if you don't want it to, so you might have to keep telling it, no more cars, please. There was some comedy around that in some TV shows where they just keep showing it to you, but it's a real thing. These are some shorter prompts, so you can test them out. They won't generate anywhere near as exactly what you want if you're going to be this verbose. The next is the checklist. Define what you want, know what you want, and get really good at asking for it. If it produces what you want, copy that prompt and use it again and again and again. You have to do a little bit of gambling. So I'm going to go to the case studies. So these are 6 projects I've worked on in the last 2 months with AI. So nothing here except the pool cleaner one's that old. So we're going to start with the board game one, because everyone knows about board games and children. So my buddy is a board game designer in Ann Arbor, and he's been sitting on a really good RPG for many, many years. And I finally convinced him to give it to me, and I'll make him a website. So he sent me a draft of Little Don John's, and I took it, turned it into a playable PDF, made him a website, and gave it back to him in about 4 hours. So you can go on littledonjohns.com. You can download the game with the rule book. There's some cover art. That's the website. If you click on that link, it'll take you there. You can enter any email you want. It'll give you a copy of the game. But all of this was made with Claude and some image generation through ChatGPT in 4 hours. So far, people have already downloaded and played it. So this already became a product. No sales because that wasn't our goal. Our goal was to distribute a kid-friendly board game that we don't have to find and struggle to share with people. So this tells more about that story of how it was made and how it was used. Another one, I spent a month trying to join a startup. Like some of yourselves, all trying to get off the ground. They're trying to develop hardware. They were going to hire me to develop hardware, and they didn't know how much hardware cost until I gave them some contracts and some outlines, and then we decided it probably wouldn't be a good fit. But this is how I validated what hardware we would use. So I used AI to make 30 pages of legal agreement to protect myself and the startup, layered into 3 contracts, and we didn't waste any money on hardware. I'm not sure how programming heavy the group is, but we use something called a UV Jupyter Python notebook. All 4 of those words are important. They all mean something, but essentially I made a standalone program that can validate code, and it looks like this. And essentially you start from the top, and you go all the way down through the math. I made fake sensor data, validated sensor data, determined what they wanted, and I probably spent maybe about 10 hours to validate what hardware would be needed for this startup, expressed how difficult it would be to make, and I proposed a budget of about $26,000 to make the first proof of concept. That wasn't in line with their expectations, but that's why we didn't work together, because you can't make hardware for much cheaper than that. So if you want more information on how to validate sensor design, that was this proof of concept. But essentially this saved them from wasting a lot of time and money on an idea that probably wouldn't work. So we can go more into that one. This one's a little fun. Any video gamers in the group might appreciate this, but every now and then a video game forces you to do a lot of repetitive tasks. So I play a type of game called idle games, where you do something, come back to it, and stuff happens. Well, I got annoyed that this game wasn't idle enough for me, so I automated in about an hour using Claude a matching system. Essentially, this sits with the game open, and it pairs stuff on my screen for me. So some of you might think, oh, that'd be great for whatever game you're playing. It is that easy. You just have to know exactly what you want and tell it, and then keep asking it questions until it works. So this whole story tells you how I troubleshot it. I do have some imaging processing background, so I was aware of how OCR works and doesn't work, how sprites work, but essentially it broke up the grid and was able to pair the 1s, pair the 6s, and this could run for hours playing the game for me, so I didn't have to waste time dragging items. We got a couple more to go through, and how we're on time, almost at the half-hour mark, so I'm on time. This next one, I had a gym. I owned a CrossFit gym for 5 years while I worked at the company with Kevin. I managed the team, but one of the things we struggled with was judging athletes to do CrossFit well. So I'm still working on some CrossFit sensors as my own invention, to judge how people jump rope, how they do pull-ups, how they squat. But essentially, I fed the idea into the AI, and I'm working on designing a circuit with it. The AI is great at schematic review. It cannot make PCBs for you yet. There is another software called Flux.io that's a little better at that, but you got to pay probably $20 to $40 a month to use that. But if anyone's interested in that, I can send a link over. But I'm trying to set up my own local agent to make circuit boards for me. I want to tell it, hey, I want a board that uses these sensors, this power supply, this motor, design me a circuit board. It is really close. Oh, did I click on the wrong one? Yeah, I clicked on the wrong one. My bad. this was where I was designing cabinets for my wife. So some of you might have that struggle of how much does that project cost? So in here, my wife wanted built-in cabinets in our basement that we were redoing with the 2 fridges. And this, after about an hour, was able to estimate $2,600 with real IKEA pricing to build this built-in cabinets. I think that's already worth the money just for $20 a month to save me that hassle of, honey, it's too expensive. But she's then redesigning it with that in mind. Where was the, apologies. Yes, this was the jump rope sensor. Does it actually have pictures of it? No, I didn't load the picture. Okay, we'll do the last one. This is the main show right here. I'm designing a battery-powered submersible pool cleaner. I'm using it to take CAD models. It doesn't work too well with this. I'm still trying to get it to work, but essentially this is the CAD model I designed. I wanted a prettier looking shark. I'm not the best CAD modeler at surfaces for sharks, but it was not able to turn this into any pretty pictures. So it still struggles at translating what you give it into what you want, but it did make some pretty looking pictures. Industrial design review, I was able to feed it industrial design, explain how to mold plastics, how to bend sheet metal, and it was able to review designs. It was actually pretty good at this. It's pretty good at laying out a bill of materials, estimating prices, but I will say its data is several years old. All pricing data generally is maybe from 2022. So when your vendor comes back and says no, they're probably right. Fluid dynamics, I'm trying to set up some simulation software to be integrated and automated by the AI. Doesn't work yet. When it does, I'll let you know. It's pretty good at simple math and simple engineering, nothing too fancy. I would say maybe 2 if statements. CAD, this is what it did. It literally just shoved a vacuum head on top of the shark's mouth. That's not what I asked it to do, but that's okay. It tried. A for effort for the intern. But essentially, this was able to save me some aspects and not others. So I believe that was a little over my 30-minute mark, but I wanted to then open the floor to hear any feedback and see what you guys wanted after I showed one last thing. So this is generally what Claude looks like. So you have your projects on your left, your chat in the middle, and your output on the right. I pay $20 a month to use this, and every now and then it tells me I'm out of credits for the day. That's because they're using their servers. The free option is this, LM Studio, where you download a model, you then tell it to do something, and it does it. So I have it reviewing some handbooks. And with that, I'll turn back to our hosts, Q and Kevin, and any other questions.
Awesome. So does anybody have any immediate questions? Because I have some bunch of stuff I can add and how I'm using it right now. It's super powerful. Yeah, go ahead, Q.
Yes, sorry. I have a quick question. So, Tom, you talked about the startup with the hardware component, and then you did some kind of AI run with getting the pricing. Can you go back to that? Was that just a superficial, like a bomb kind of situation where you're getting bill of materials?
I wouldn't call it superficial, but I couldn't share a lot here. So I stripped a lot out of it to share what I could. I was able to break down within the contracts of the 30 pages 4 phases to the proof of concept. I mapped out 2 runs of circuit boards. They essentially wanted a custom circuit designed with their math model. They don't have a background in hardware sensor development. Getting it to work first try is very impossible. So I said we'd get it on the second try, and even that's pretty optimistic.
Okay, I see.
Um,
So when you did your AI run, did you account for the whole process of tooling and assembly and all that with the price? I think you said 26,000.
so the tooling, most of the cost was on sensors. I can't tell you exactly what sensors they were using, but I'd say half the cost of that $26,000 was sensors. The other 10 grand was a lot of my time to develop those sensors over a couple months. So I was pricing myself at minimum wage, which was
Oh,
still very cheap. But a lot of it is PCB layout, design, and fabrication is not, say, product level green board costs. Prototyping, I was using my own 3D printers, my own hand tools, like all of that to get to that price. Very advanced sensor prototypes are usually in the six-figure mark to get, a proof of concept up and going, not the 10-figure mark. So I don't think they were aware of hardware development. They were software guys.
Surprise.
Kevin's smiling because I'm in a current situation and Derek's helping me out here with this. So I have a smartphone holder, and everyone I've encountered, even the last company I talked to, software and hardware don't play well together, and I'm basically having to split the work. But eventually, when the product is at the final stages, they'll have to come together to figure it out. So it's two different companies. So it's not housed in one company. And I've encountered this multiple times. This is my fourth company I've been trying to talk to. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering that using your AI method to justify or actually give them the landscape to see if I can get to someone who can do it in-house.
I'd have to review a lot. It took me a good month to get the this sensor platform proposal going because it took me probably
Okay.
2 weeks to understand the problem. And
Okay.
my proposal wasn't exactly what they asked for. It was just something that was possible close to their budget because they wanted 10 proofs of concept. And I said, that's not how you do proofs of concept.
Okay.
There's still fundamental, I think a lot of people, and then this isn't UQ, but a lot of people they're not, again, prompt management, not really sure what to ask, and they're asking it to jump way too far, too soon, just in general. And so breaking it down into smaller and smaller problems still requires that human element of knowledge that says, okay, I'm going to actually decrease, or I'm either going to increase the accuracy of my prompts or expect a worse result, right? So it's kind of funny that AI does a lot, but at the same time, it requires a lot of the user.
Yeah, AI requires HI, human intelligence.
Mhm.
That's what I say.
There's a question here from Todd. So he goes, you mentioned it was mostly done by Claude. Is there a question template for concept drawings?
So the prompt for images, I
question,
generally
Todd.
don't use Claude. This was the prompt used to generate this image. These aren't things I would call deliverables. These are, say, concept sketches. I use SolidWorks a lot. I believe Kevin does as well. I would generally use Claude to make a math model or a sketch. And then I would do this sketching for the drawing myself. One of the things I'm working on right now is a better template for myself for algorithm design. I don't know if you guys can see this on the screen, but Claude and a lot of the AI like markdown files. It's .md is a file type. So a lot of my communication I draft in markdown files. One of the struggles I've had, I've coached CrossFit for over a decade, so I've learned to, I've coached over 20,000 people in CrossFit. So communicating with everyone, you have to learn how to communicate. So I'm learning how to communicate with Claude. And I want to tell it how to make things, but just typing words into a prompt doesn't always get you what you want. So to answer Todd's question, The template has to match what you want for the deliverable. So right now, this is my template for asking it to make a better idle game player. I was able to get it to do several things in the game individually, but I could not connect all those together. Partly from my own shortcomings as not understanding software well enough, but also my inability to tell what I wanted to do. But if your question's around templates for concept drawings, I think on the website I had a prompt for, so this first prompt is okay, but this is trying to determine like the mechanical specs around something. This here is directly on the website, and you can copy this prompt. This is a way to generate art. And a lot of the art generative AIs need a positive and a negative prompt. But there's more layers to it. I can explain more if maybe Todd could illuminate how he wants to use it. I can tell him my suggestion.
Todd, are you looking to say something along the lines of, I have an idea, it does this, send me a picture of something that does that? Is that roughly, saying that back to what I said before? Okay. He said exactly what I said. You being Tom or Kevin? Me. Okay. So yeah. So it's like, Tom, here's our question. So let me make up a really bad idea. I'm going to come up with a really stupid idea because I love inventing dumb ideas. How would I do a prompt in your eyes for Claude that's an aerodynamic toothbrush? Like a completely useless product. But somebody might like it. Okay, we're doing it live here.
So I want to show you what a good prompt looks like and what a bad prompt looks like. So I took a very simple positive aerodynamic toothbrush, negative mouthwash. There's a lot of free courses online of how to prompt. I took a couple of them. Not a plug for Coursera, but it's probably the cheapest training you can get. Coursera can tell you how to make generative AI prompts better. Their framework is a lot of context, resources, deliverable, audience. So you have 5 sections of a prompt. So right now, this might not be what you wanted. With Google Gemini, I can probably scribble on this and say, I don't like this, or this is great. I don't even know if this will work. Green circle good. Like you just have to kind of no Todd, I'm not a YouTuber. I value my privacy a little too much. I also invent a lot of things that I can't put on the internet. So
I'm gonna start putting everything on the internet. See if anybody can beat me.
go right ahead. I know the joke AI stands for actually Indians. I've seen enough companies that actually do that. I've met companies that do that. But I just want to explain in the global infrastructure, you have to know how to protect your ideas. So one of the things I learned at the Apple Manufacturing Academy was how easy it is to bypass someone's firewall and steal all their data. They had a live demo of how to do that. I know how to do that through your Ring doorbell right now. I am redoing my home network to not have that problem. That's not something I think you guys will be able to do, but I just want to caution you that as inventors, once you put something on the internet, there's a risk to not being able to patent it.
I smell a really good idea, Tom. We need to talk about.
Well, I'll see you Sunday.
Hey, can I just say hello to Tom? We need to circle the wagons back and get together, Tom.
Yeah, Derek.
Tom, you don't know Derek's a successful inventor. He's got his stuff together, keeps things simple, knows what's up. So
we met at the
Okay.
Apple Manufacturing
Gotcha.
Academy.
Yeah.
Awesome. No intro needed then.
Any other case examples? Anything you inventors
So-
are struggling with?
So it's really working. So here's, I just want to give an example of what I do. Tom, if you don't mind me, I'll just talk through it. But so I'll have a model tree on a solid model, and then I'll have a base bill of materials. So if you're doing a product, it's physical, you're going to have CAD, computer-aided design, you're going to have a bill of materials. So how many of the same component, how many of this fastener, how many of that fastener. And you know, CAD's, we're not at the point where we're generating probably that great of ideas. I know, like Todd, you were asking, you know, hey, I wanted to generate my idea. Obviously, you know, maybe it's getting there, or it's getting stolen, one of the two. But when you have more detail, it becomes very useful. So in the case of me, I'm actually taking just a screenshot. This used to be a very manual process for me, but I'm taking a screenshot of my model tree, which is literally just all the things in the assembly. And then I'm creating a prompt that gets rid of the noise in it, because in SolidWorks, you'll have things like display configurations, you'll have, you know, numbers, you'll have all these items I just want it to grab the project code, the inventory code, the part number, the revision, and the description. And then I want it to find the amount I have in there. And so what I do is I have a script written, and I use Grok because I love Elon Musk and his stuff works great. And I take a screenshot of that plus my bill of materials, which it's connected. I have it with ABC, and in my prompt, I have column A, column B, column C, row 1, row 2. I put some work into this, and then I have it literally generate my specific bill of materials from a screenshot right from my PC, instead of manually putting in all of the part numbers and all the stuff in Excel, or even trying to copy and paste it. And then I have it actually find all of the hardware, because I break my models into electrical parts, mechanical, custom parts, electrical parts, and then hardware. So all my McMaster car part numbers, if you've ever ordered any screws, anything from McMaster, it will then search for that part number, put all those descriptions in, put the links for those particular parts in. I have it find the individual price and put the price in. So at the end of this, I end up with a bill of materials that has all of the costs of the hardware in it. And then I simply start adding costs, and then I add quotes as I get quotes. So I'll get a quote in, I'll be like, add this quote to this part number, add this quote to that part number. And I literally build my bill of materials I send to my customers with pricing just using AI now. So I save a ton of time doing that. Now it's still a little clunky, and I have them broken into pieces, but it saves me 4 or 5 hours at least per machine. And that's not even a tough task. So, and I'm able to be more competitive. I'm able to lower my price. I'm able to develop things faster for people, because I'm not just doing admin work. You know, it doesn't require 20 years of engineering and 500 machines I've designed to put a part number in a box, right? And so in the right spot. There's why you did that, and that part is where the knowledge is, and AI is not there yet, but that legwork of being able to just convert what I did, the valuable stuff I did, into the communication stuff that I did is incredible. So anyways, Tom, I don't mean to hijack it, but that's a really big use case I'm using it for, because I am done with all these releases. The next step is going to be I upload all of those to a Google Drive, connect the Google Excel sheet or the Google Sheets or whatever it's called, and then I can have links and all there. So if you want to pull up a particular part, you just hover over it and the PDF shows up and it's all linked in the bill. So it's now a linked bill of materials. And then you want to buy a particular part from a particular vendor, then you just click on the link. So because in my particular business where I'm designing and engineering and doing things for them, most people don't have that procurement background in engineering, and they need it to be really simple. So if all they have to do is copy and paste all the McMaster parts into McMaster and then order them, and then here's the links for buying their custom parts through some of the online vendors, it makes it a pretty good option for them after I've done all the legwork of design. So it's pretty well.
Is that similar to what they have out called Excel dashboard?
I am not familiar with Excel dashboard yet. I'll have to dig.
Yeah, I'm looking into that now. more on the financial side of tracking.
Guess what?
Stuff.
Guess what I'm also doing? I'm not talking about, Derek. I send my business P&Ls to Claude. So every week I have QuickBooks send me an email that's got a PDF of all my profit loss expense reports, all that sends to an email that only Claude uses, right? And I crashed it and now it doesn't work right now, but this is the ultimate plan. And then I have it act like my CPA. And I said, look at my P&Ls of the last week and give me some suggestions on what a professional, CFO would look at my products. Also, I can tell it inventory, right? I can be like, here's my inventory, here's my sales, project when I'm going to need to buy more inventory based on these results, and then send me a text message when I need to order more parts. So it's freeing up like this ridiculous amount of administrative work. It's just gone. It's just as long as you're doing the prompts and like as Tom's been beating the drum here, you have to know, as an entrepreneur, those details of exactly what it needs to do and kind of when it needs to do it. And if you can spell that out right and then make the connections securely, which is a little suspicious of what I'm doing. That's why I need Tom's help. It starts doing some work you didn't realize you waste 30% of your life on. I can free up a whole day of design work by getting rid of this stupid admin stuff.
Hey, so here's a question, and this is for you, Kevin, or either Thomas, because I'm not the sharpest pencil in the box, and not about the brightest or small appliance light bulb, if you want to know the truth about it. But is there any way we can tweak this kind of format to help on the advertising and marketing side for your product?
Oh, we are working on it with Elliot.
See what that rhythm is, to grab that algorithm.
We think, so you obviously know Elliot and you're working with Elliot. We are converting Elliot's job to do this.
Okay.
We think we can get rid of 95% of Elliot's job. He's just got to write all these prompts to do it, right? Which enables, so you say, hey, he's eliminating his own job. It's like, no, he's automating his job so he can have 95% more clients at way less of a price.
Okay, so keep me posted on that one.
We've already got, we've got an Amazon AI agent we're working on right now with him, and we're just being very careful of what we're doing. But we're taking all of Elliot's knowledge and putting it into prompts on what to do when, and then anything that's odd, it kicks out to Elliot. He manages that, but all of the PPC campaigns, all of that stuff, we have a completely individual seller account with permissions that we're going in and it's running it.
Okay, and then when we tweak that, we got to get Walmart. Let's get it.
And then Walmart's next.
Moving. Yes.
Walmart's next, and again, it still requires Elliot's super knowledgeable, right? So he's got to write the prompts. He's got to write the positives and negatives. So he's doing that, and we're having problems and we're crashing. But I say before the end of the year, it's going to be like we can take PPC advertising campaigns and drop them to super cheap and just have thousands of clients.
Okay. All right. Well, we're on the same page because you saw that little light bulb go on in my head.
Yeah. If you're moving a mouse and you're like copying and pasting, that is a job that's going away. Yep. You can automate that. You need to monitor it is the hard part. And Tom, I don't know if you've done anything with, how do you know it's not doing something stupid and it didn't do a whole bunch of stupid stuff a lot? I don't know if you can speak to that. Because that's the other side. Because it'll do, back when I was working, designing, production Chrysler engines, we were making an engine every 37 seconds. Turns out when you don't catch something for a day, you make a lot of bad engines. Well, AI is no different. If you've got it working and it's doing dumb stuff, it can turn around and do a lot of dumb stuff real fast. So, Tom, I don't know if you can speak to how do you check that?
You have to know how the tools work. I was going to ask, what automation software are you using? The one that gets advised a lot is called N8N. You do have to pay for the cloud monthly subscription for some of those automations. I personally have not allowed those automations to work. I set up entirely different desktops to do automations because I'm very data conscious. I don't want it having access to my bank accounts or emails. There are a couple of funny stories out there where people have used a platform called OpenClaw to argue with dealerships for car prices. It'll send out 10,000 emails in a minute if you let it. These things can crash your network. It can brick your email address. It could even lock you out of your social networks. A lot of these companies do not want you doing this because of how much it will cost them if you do it. So when I had my gym, I did a lot of this manually, but even then I automated posting the gym workout on 7 platforms for 7 days, and it took me an hour every Sunday. That was before AI existed. Now people are doing that even further. When I was selling pool cleaners a couple years ago, we were using like Scout and Ninja and these other Amazon scraping tools to automate a lot of those adjusting of the Amazon product profiles. Not exactly what Kevin's talking about, but people have been doing this since at least 2022 is when a lot of this stuff started. So people are using it, but then they get locked out of their own accounts. So please, please, please be cautious. You're building your audience. You don't want to burn your audience to save $1. There's that safeguard you need to learn to establish. Kevin, you're muted.
You find that AI to find that one customer that you don't want to have anymore, and then you can.
There's a lot of possible lawsuits for fraud. So
it's going to get wild. This is going to get wild. Next couple of years, everybody, it's going to get wild. And and if you think AI is going to just be a buzzword, wake up.
Well,
please wake up. I'm saying that in the nicest way possible.
It's
be very stay abreast to this.
I would say grab the magic wand while it exists. I am shocked at how they let all of us have it.
Then we're gonna go back 20 years back. Remember when they let AI out for everybody to use and it got crazy? Like it's like yup. And then like some like giant person figured out how to manipulate the stock market just for 2 days, just long enough for them to short some stocks, make $1 billion and run away. And they'll be like, God, I should have done that.
So,
but isn't the reason they give it to us free is so that they can get all of the data collected? So
it's a double
stream.
This isn't
they
even
don't have an option but to pay.
This is like so many edge. It's not even a double-edged sword. This is like everything is sharp and it's a circle. Like how is it all the same? It's just incredible. So, and it's not something you should be scared of, but it's something where if you choose to stay ignorant of it, one day you're just going to be bypassed. And so you really kind of like Excel. It's sort of like back in the day when Excel came out, where everybody's like, "Oh, CPA firms and accounting is going to be done." It's like, no. Everybody just started using Excel to do a whole bunch of work prior to going to, their CPA firms. But where it is getting really interesting, like I said, you send my P&L to Grok and say, hey, if you were my CPA, here's my last 12 statements on my business. Go through all of my statements, look at anything I'm wasting money on and tell me. What is Intuit doing as a business? Like they got to wake up. Bad, like quick, because Grok is my CPA already. So it's things like that are going to be very, very interesting, like writing grants and proposals. Back when I did a bunch of that stuff with military. It's like, take my last 10 that I've written, apply it this way, and boom. You're like, whoa, it is really impressively good. And you want to talk about, mine is my personal opinion, but I think if you're anywhere in business overhead, be the person in the company that implements AI, not that gets cut out. And so, like I said, I won't trust the jobs report for anybody for the next 5 years, just because jobs report, economy, it's like with AI, all out the window. All that data is that we have no idea how much this is influencing stuff. So you can blame anybody or not blame somebody. It doesn't matter. So it's The fact that I think I can get Elliot's job. Elliot gets paid very well for what he does. The fact that we can, I think, automate 95% of his job, and that also eliminates every single person those companies hire in the Philippines. It's going to get weird. It's going to get wild. So be somebody that can implement these tools like Tom, and then you are the biggest asset in the company. You become from somebody who's worried about a situation to somebody who goes, oh, Tom knows how to get rid of this whole department. Give him like 2 days. And then that department will beat him up. But
well, I will tell it two directions. I was laid off, even with that in mind. So if you want to use AI to make money, I would say it's better at saving money at the moment, not necessarily making money. It reduced my taxes on my property taxes by $400 a year, so it already paid for its whole annual subscription. It was able to negotiate some other things, but I want to go back to the point that Derek and Kevin were making. Eventually, AI will not be free for us. Right now, we're not the product, we're the training wheels. I do recommend learning it as fast as you can, grabbing some models to keep. It is a magic wand. There are already people using it to break products. One dude tried to access his camera on his Roomba and broke the API key and had access to over 7,000 Roomba cameras around the world. This is where I'm going to go back to protect your data.
it's so wild.
If you have sensitive data, I would say keep it on your computer that doesn't have AI, and the computer you do have AI on, just acknowledge everything on it will be stolen at some point, if someone wants to. They have a giant magnet, and if they point it at your haystack, they will find the needle. It's just a brute force technique. So I'm not trying to throw caution. It's coming. It's here. People are doing it. Just protect your information. As you get older, it's harder to relearn all these skills and learn how to protect the wealth and the ideas. So I think as inventors, we've built these ideas for a very long time. No one's going to show up and steal it, but they might steal your bank account. They might steal your patent. They might steal this or that. They're not going to steal your hard work. They're not going to steal the hard things. They're going to steal the valuable things.
And so another good, and thank you, Tom. So just start with something really simple. So I forward just the really basic, like Tom's goldfish counter. I had, before I crashed mine and had to redo it, like I have all my emails from all my accounts being sent to hal@dreammachine.com. I made a whole nother email. It's a completely related. I call it HAL because of 2001 Space Odyssey, because at some point it's going to stop from opening the door, right? And I got to have a little bit of a sense of humor. And then, so what I do is then I have it look through those emails. And anytime I buy something, which I usually get an email about or a digital receipt, I have it grab that. And I was at the point where I was getting it to identify receipts and then I crashed. But here's what I'm going to have it do is it's going to take all those receipts, automatically create a PDF, and then put that PDF in a folder that's on my Google Drives. Then my QuickBooks is automatically going to reference that folder and I'm not chasing every receipt for every transaction every single week in QuickBooks. So again, the biggest thing I'm using it for right now is kind of an accountant. You know, it's a CPA and it's an accountant right now. And I'm just using it to feed me information. I'm still reading off and not doing a lot of automated stuff yet. But at some point, yeah, I'm going to have it absolutely put my receipts, my accounts, approve expenses, and then be my CPA, all local, all on the computer in the other room, which I will only talk to it basically through emails. Just, we'll see. So getting kind of crazy, Q's back.
Yeah.
It's a great business administration tool right now. So try to use it.
Well, you know, the one thing I have cautioned my children about is, as you use it, try minimizing your social footprint just a tad bit. Security is paramount. So start minimizing your social footprint and you'll be all right.
Yeah, I think the next, like the president in 3 terms from now, will be the only person that didn't ever have a cell phone. Because we're like, he's probably good. You know, doesn't have all this other stuff that all of these have recorded. You know, all the terrible conversations. This thing is things that have come out of my mouth that thing is listened to, and then it gets posted in a public article. You know, gonna get crazy. But yeah, whatever. Gonna get fun, people. It's gonna get fun. Tom,
It's already
anything else?
fun.
Yeah, it's getting real fun. We got Todd here. We got save. When you say save a model,
Yeah.
got it, Tom.
So I'll pull up the screen again. Let me switch back to sharing.
God, I need to be less busy. I want to mess with this so much. This is what I do on my weekends.
Okay, so the recommended path I'm going to share with you is to download Ollama. Ollama is the easiest gateway, and here you'll see at the bottom right, you click these models. They'll give you the free cloud ones that are amazing, but you can also download some local ones. So I've downloaded like this Quen 3.59B. I'm not going to explain what that means, but essentially when I click that, this is running locally on my computer. Then after playing with Ollama, I would say then maybe learn LM Studio, where I'm downloading models, where I click, where is it? Yeah, click this button, Find Model, and say Grok, since Kevin loves Grok.
Yes.
I can go in here, I can download Grok 1, which is an 84 gigabyte model. Doesn't tell me how many Bs it is, but the B number is generally how complicated the model, and that tells me whether my video card can run it. So I probably wouldn't touch that one. I've been sticking to 8 to 30 B models based on my video card setup. And then after you download them, you can then load them. That's a different process. But I'll send a link to Ollama. This is probably the gateway drug to local models. But you want to make sure you're actually using local. Make sure you're actually turning off the internet button. There's too many ways to use this for me to give you any perfect advice in 30 seconds.
There's some pretty good tutorials if you look at set up your first Ollama agent on YouTube, or Ollama agent, or set up Ollama Windows or Mac. There's some pretty good videos out there of some people setting it up. That's kind of sort of what you have to go through, and then because exactly what Tom was saying is it's hard to explain any one thing, because it's sort of like talking about, you know, what route do you want through a matrix? Well, if you go down rows or columns, everything's different. So yeah, definitely search Ollama agents or Claude, OpenClaw agent install on your stuff. We are at 8:06, everybody. I don't want to take people's time beyond over and above. Anything else before we depart? Tom, this is awesome. Derek?
No,
fire away.
I just wanted to tell Thomas, please shoot me an email, Tom, so we can follow up and catch up. Sorry it fell off my radar. Q, you need to follow up with me on your issue. There's some things we need to talk about on that one.
Yeah, I sent you an email already. And speaking of Derek, you're the next presenter for May.
Yay!
Yeah, he's gonna.
It's a cool story. It's a cool story, and there's a lot of lessons. There's a lot of really good lessons of new inventors. So,
yep.
Cool.
Great.
Awesome.
Right.
Anything else? I appreciate it. Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Tom.
I really encourage you just to play with it, learn it. I would really like it if next month you guys maybe shared examples of how you used it. We have to learn from each other on this one. There's just too much you can do with it.
Hey Tom, I'm gonna tell you right now, the only way I'm gonna learn this is with your tutorial. So get ready for it, because I'm an old dog. It's hard for me to learn new tricks. So I need to be I need a tutor.
I get it. I'm forcing myself as well. So, all right, everybody. Thank you very much. And we'll see you guys in a month.
All right, be blessed.
Keep on hi at DetroitInventorsGroup.com. It's a new email. Check your spam.
I
So
think
everything's
the folks here knows. Everyone else, I didn't get any
Everybody's-
emails. I'll follow
yeah.
up.
We'll keep chipping away at it. So I think we're doing good.